everybody, and welcome to our newest episode of 600 Seconds in HRTech. I'm joined today by Yvette Cameron, who's the Senior Vice President of Cloud HCM Strategy at Oracle. Welcome, Yvette.
Thank you so much, Stacia.
So we only have 600 seconds, so we're going to dive right into it. We got a chance to be together last week talking all about some of the new products and features that Oracle is introducing. And one that especially caught my eye was Agentic apps, which you are introducing alongside AI agents, AI agent teams, and AI workflows. That's a lot of AI, that's a lot of agents, and a lot of words. So can you walk us through how you think about each one of those, including what it does, who it's for, and what the lines are between them?
Yeah, absolutely. I think about it as 4 layers of capability that are really building blocks that build on each other. So starting with AI workflows, they're the orchestration layer. They automate sequences of tasks and approvals and business processes, things we're very familiar with. AI agents are really task-oriented and conversational. They're usually very specialized, and they help users complete specific activities like creating job descriptions and summarizing feedback and answering payroll questions and other questions. Agent teams then are an orchestration of those specific agents, and they usually come together to focus on broader business outcomes across your various processes, recruiting, onboarding, learning, et cetera. But agent teams are simply an orchestration of those specialized agents. And then we get to agentic apps, and those really sit at the highest level. They package the orchestration, the agents, the enterprise context into outcome-based business experiences. They also focus on surfacing exceptions to processes. So rather than starting and stopping, various processes that you would with the agents of the agent teams, agentic apps focus on surfacing those exceptions. So they let the routine work continue to happen automatically under the covers, right, with whatever level of autonomy that you want to give those agents. And they surface those areas that need human intervention. So where humans need to make a decision, they need to rationalize. These agentic apps will surface recommendations as well. But ultimately, they're bringing forward the items that require that human attention. Now, from a user perspective, workflows and agents, they're typically for process owners. The agents and the agent teams are really helping the users, whether they're, frontline employees or process owners, to, manage tasks or outcome or processes. But those agentic apps are really focused on delivering that broader business outcome distinction. I think that the key distinction here is when you want to create business outcomes, you want to improve hiring cycle times, or you want to close your books faster, this is where agentic applications come in because they're comprehensive.
And you may have just said it, but I want to make sure we're really clear. What's a customer get from an agentic app that they couldn't get by stitching together, all the agents or agent teams that they have?
Yeah, I think a couple of examples are in order. To start, when you talk about stitching together agents, you can create automation, but it's much, much harder to create a trusted enterprise execution on business processes and ultimately getting to those outcomes. So an agentic app, it's not just a collection of agents that we've stuck together. As I said, it's outcome oriented. It combines all the workflows, the policy, security, the orchestration of different agents and the activities that they produce, all the transactional content, and all of it's governed by business process. If you look at a set of standalone agents, you can certainly complete isolated tasks, but if you want enterprise work to happen and you want it to span multiple domains, whether it's payroll, recruiting, or others, you really need to start leveraging the agentic apps. So let me give you a specific example.
Yeah.
We delivered something called our Workforce Operations Console, a new agentic app, and it spans time and absence and scheduling. And in that process, again, work is being processed under the covers. Shift swaps are happening as long as they're managed within the guardrails. People requesting time off, that's managed autonomously or to whatever degree that you choose. But when there is a problem, for example, a time card can't be reconciled within the guardrails that are provided, then the agent will surface that as an exception to the user, to the manager in this case. And in addition to saying, hey, this is a time card I couldn't resolve automatically, but here's what I think you might want to do, right? That recommendation is there. But at the same time, these agentic apps have agents that are also collaborating with that particular agent. So as that exception, that time card error, for example, is surfaced, other apps within the Agentic app will also say, hey, I've created an email if you want to reach out to the affected employee, or I can create right now with the click of a button a dynamic report that shows you the history of these kinds of exceptions by individual or team or department, whatever the case is. I can create dynamically, a PowerPoint or some other kind of, report up to management. So there's interactivity and collaboration happening within this Agentic app. So again, if you were just to stitch together, I've got 5 or 6 different apps that show me scheduling and time cards, you could do that. But getting that context awareness of what's happening across those applications, ensuring that it's meeting all of the security and policy, it's checking on those things for you automatically and keeping all of that in sync. That's where the enterprise execution and getting to your outcomes of managing the workforce are different than just stitching those applications together.
Mm-hmm. And do they learn over time? So like if there's a consistent set of behaviors, like, yes, I want you to send the email. No, I don't want you to email the affected employee, but instead I want you to email the manager or whatever it is. Will it learn those things and kind of recommend those first?
So our agents and our agentic apps do reason over data. They have memory. They can go beyond standard workflows to look at, some decisions that have to be made and dynamically parse off. And the learning that comes from that, where I need to go look, what are the behaviors of the users, et cetera, are absolutely part of the capabilities here that we're looking at and delivering.
Talk to us a little bit about pricing. So there are a range of approaches right now. So how are you all pricing Gen AI and specifically these agentic apps?
Yeah, I think that pricing is one of the areas of unique differentiation for Oracle. We have embedded in our applications now for the last 18 to 24 months generative and agentic capabilities. These are delivered as part of our core SaaS applications. They come with the subscription that you pay for SaaS, so there is no additional cost for leveraging those. Now, each of these new agents, they're using LLMs, and if you're using our basic LLM that we include, there is no token cost, right? That is, you can test these out in your sandbox. You can deploy them in pilots or across your organization. And as long as you're using our core basic LLM, which is very solid, then, go. There's no additional cost. And as we work with customers and they say they want to use a more premium model, and we have, our embedded LLMs, whether it's basic or premium, have shifted over time, and we'll continue to work with the market-leading players here. Then there is a consumption-based pricing. And again, though, we are very generous in some of the tokens that we provide customers just to make sure that they've got enough to test out and do some trying out, again, without immediate additional cost. And of course, we have all the reporting and tracking under the covers so that you always know, what kind of tokens are you using, what's the ultimate cost. We're actually moving our consumption model to something based on outcomes pricing as opposed to each and every token cost for a call. We don't charge until the outcome is finally delivered. So there's a unique benefit there. The bottom line is not only the agents, but the tools to create and modify these agents are also included in our standard subscription price. So you don't pay for the agents, you don't pay for the tools to modify those agents, you don't pay for the tools to build your own. So whether you're using what we deliver, which are hundreds now across our Fusion apps, or you create your own, there's no additional cost for creating those capabilities.
I want to ask a follow-on here, because some folks will say, well, I know Yvette said that the core model's okay, but I'm used to using whatever other thing. Can you, Claude or ChatGPT or whomever your model is, can you articulate just a little bit? And I know that there's tons of examples, but just to give people a sense of okay, here are the sorts of things that a core model, or the sorts of situations where a core model would totally make sense. And here are the sorts of situations where you might choose to upgrade to a different model beyond what's in the core, just so people can get a sense of what's included and where might be the exceptions.
Well, I want to be clear that our basic model is a GPT-OSS, right? So this is a leading capability. And none of the agents that we deliver require a premium model. We don't deliver solutions unless they meet our outcome expectations. When our partners deliver agents in our marketplace, they go through a 22-point inspection, and part of it is that they are meeting a high quality of outcome, expected outcome, and that's part of the processing and reporting that we deliver. Is you can measure the output of the agents. Here's the expected value that we expect from the prompt. Here's what we're actually getting. And unless it's at a high enough level, we won't even deliver it or let our partners bring it in. Where a premium model might come into play, I think it just really depends on perhaps the complexity of the agent and the data sources. Is it looking in one source? Is it trying to triangulate across 3 or 4 different sources? I would expect with greater complexity, you're asking about perhaps job history and budget information and performance, and so looking across finance and HCM, that might be a case. I don't have any particular good examples, but again, this is why we also provide that reporting, so that our users can determine where will they get better results, perhaps with a higher level or a premium level over what our basic model is.
Okay. And then just to restate what I think you said earlier, even if they do need to use that premium model, there are some level of credits that are included with the base subscription for that more premium model. Yeah. One final question for you, and that is that other HCM vendors are also making big AI bets. So what do you see as the Oracle specific point of view on AI and HCM that sets you all apart?
Clearly, our point of view is that we're moving from systems of record into systems of outcomes. And we recognize that it's not enough for enterprise systems just to record what's happened in the past. Really, with today's capabilities, we need to expect our enterprise systems to move work forward on our behalf. And AI and its capabilities has just made this shift, pronounced. We do believe that to deliver trusted, secure, real-time execution, that AI has to have deep understanding of the enterprise data, of the workflows, the approvals, the policies, the data structure, the org structures, access and security, the context. And without that, you won't necessarily get the results you're expecting. Because we own at Oracle the application layer, the SaaS applications, we own the workflow engines, the data model, the cloud infrastructure, the database, we can operate much, much closer to the actual execution layer of the enterprise. Unlike, different organizations who are trying to layer a orchestration layer on top and, control the actions of AI happening across disparate systems. When you have AI in a unified system, we find that you're getting better results. That's not to say, Stacia, that we don't support a heterogeneous environment. We know a lot of customers, work in that, but we have the tools and capabilities through our various Oracle Cloud Infrastructure and Fusion Data Intelligence to bring that external data in, manage the semantics, but still, our database to infrastructure to applications layer is a unique advantage for how we're bringing AI and agentic applications to the market.
Yvette, thank you so much for joining us on 600 Seconds in HRTech. So that was my conversation with Yvette Cameron from Oracle. And I want to take a few minutes to reflect on what we heard. Now, the first thing I found myself thinking about was that 4-layer taxonomy that she shared with us. She laid it out: workflows, agents, agent teams, and agentic apps. Now, the market has been adding new AI terminology at a dizzying pace, and a lot of it is genuinely fuzzy. And what I really appreciate in the conversation is that Yvette drew a distinction between each layer. The clearest distinction for me was between agent teams and agentic apps, which is saying a lot because I came in with the greatest confusion around that. So let me state what I understood from her. Agent teams orchestrate specialized agents around a process. Now, an agentic apps package, that orchestration gets moved into an outcome-oriented experience that monitors for exceptions and surfaces them to the human who needs to act. The Workforce Operations Command Center is a good example of what this looks like in practice. Schedules adjust automatically when someone calls an absent, overdue time cards get flagged before payroll runs, or when there's a coverage gap, the agent finds replacement options rather than leaving the manager to call around. The idea is that the system handles routine work under the covers, and when something genuinely needs a human, it brings that forward with context and a recommendation already assembled. I think this actually is reorienting what we should be asking of enterprise AI. It's not that it's just there to do what we tell it to do, but it's actually about how can the system route our human attention. So I'm going to say that again. How can the system route our human attention? So when our judgment is needed, or when a manager's judgment is needed, is it easy to give it? And do we have the context already there when we arrive? And do we have a set of recommendations that we can make more easily? It's really so much about lowering the cognitive load when appropriate from the technology on the human. And I think that's a different discussion than this just pure like human in the loop, where it's relying on the human to do all of the heavy lifting. We don't have to, but we do still need our human critical thinking, our judgment to make those decisions. But a starting place is always useful. So that was thing one. The second thing that caught my attention, and I think is just, I can't put a big enough highlight on, is around pricing. So let me start by saying that most of the HRISs I spent time with this spring are moving to a consumption-based pricing model. And what that means is that basically when you are doing something, the amount to which you are doing it is either assessed in tokens or AI units, which is what Oracle is using. And then as a result, that's the price of doing the thing. Oracle has taken a different approach in that they have embedded Gen AI in their core SaaS subscription. So there's no additional charge for their base model. Now, if you want to use another model, you want to use one of your favorite popular models, Claude, one from Claude, or one of the ChatGPT ones, or whatever you like. That has an increased cost, and that is measured in what I said, AI units. Now, the reason that Oracle can do this, that they can include that base model, is actually the third point, which is around the fact that Oracle owns the entire stack. They own the application layer, the workflows engines, the data model, the cloud infrastructure, and the database. The head of applications, Steve Miranda, at our recent analyst event put it plainly. He said, Oracle is the only application that is also in the technology stack. And so for that reason, Oracle can actually basically subsidize the cost of this base model because it's their own GPU and their own OCI costs. Now, that is completely different than the other vendors, and that is really important to remember. And also remember that Oracle is the only one that's going to be able to do that. And the reason that this is so critical is because pricing is going to become a bigger factor with AI. It is already starting. I think over the summer, we're going to see it really kind of explode as an issue. I actually wrote about this in my Oracle Analyst Day Road Report, where I did some calculations that showed just how sensitive these models are to small increases in prices from the AI unit, or increases in usage, and also increases in the number of apps that somebody's on. And the bigger those get, the prices can really add up quickly. So this is not to say that you shouldn't be using AI, but I think there's going to be a lot more thought around not just experimentation, but how are we telling people to use the AI and when do we want which people to use it? It's going to be a very different conversation coming into the fall. And so the fact that Oracle has a base model built in, I think is going to mean that there continues to be a lot more experimentation with that base model within companies, because that is the one that is already included. What will this do for the broader market? I'm not sure yet. I know that Oracle's biggest competitors do have that consumption-based model. They don't have the same advantage of the tech stack. And so it's going to be really interesting to see what they do and how they price it. Important, I just want to reinforce, this doesn't mean that all of it, every model you would run in Oracle is free. It's not. The more premium models cost, just like with the other HRISs, but this is a true differentiation for Oracle, and I think it's a really important thing to talk about. If this conversation today sparked something for you, I'd encourage you to check out our Red Thread Research membership, where we go a lot deeper on topics like AI and HR, talent management, people analytics. That article that I mentioned on Oracle is actually on the Red Thread membership page. It is maybe too detailed. I can't even tell you, maybe some 25 pages of thoughts about Oracle and what they're doing and how that contrasts with others. But I would strongly encourage you, if you are looking at HRISs now, or if you're thinking about how AI and HRTech is going to evolve, have a look at that article, have a look at the ones that have written about their competitors, and give it some thought in terms of what your AI and HRTech strategy is going to be. And if you found this episode useful, please share it with a colleague and leave us a like or a comment on whatever platform you're on. It really helps other folks find the show. And with that, I'm going to say thank you so much for joining us for this episode of 600 Seconds in HR Tech. I hope to see you on another one soon. And I'm Stacia Garr. Take care.